Grains of wheat used to equal the value of silver. We have it inverted today, but through history, it's about the food production and the economy, both of which are being flipped upside down out of the apple cart today. So, where does that take our world? We're going to drop back into the past a few thousand years. And as you can see, the weight and measure of the grains were the equivalent of the silver. It's opposite today. We use the money to buy the food. Back then, the food equaled the money. Completely different way to think about it. At least 2,000 years prior, it was so important on the coinage. And bringing it over to Zimbabwe grain production, they're talking about over 800,000 tons of surplus this year. I said, wow, that's staggering amount, especially in Africa. The project's based on an anticipated 3 million ton cereal reserve, including 2.9 million ton harvest, exceeding the 2.2 million ton annual grain requirement. And the last sentence sums it up here. He noted that the surplus could be even higher if calculated using the SADC, or National Average Consumption Rates, which means they're going to fiddle with the figures to make it appear that there's more grain than there actually is. Again, that's the thing about statistics. You can use any number you want to come out with the outcome you want. And it appears now Zimbabwe is going to come out with higher figures of the amount of grain. Now, what does that do for them economically? Can they get more loans from certain international organizations? Can they get new warehouses built for them, storage facilities, grain silos, because they have higher amounts of grain to store? Again, you have to wonder what the shell game is happening in Southern Africa. And right on top of that, Zimbabwe Cotton Research Organization / Institute is going to be using genetically modified cotton. Oh, another consumer for Africa. Can we ever escape this spiral of dependence is the question. Zimbabwe intensifying cotton presidential input scheme using GM cotton, and the Cotton Research Institute is weaving this all together. You can follow the threads, every pun intended, to the money. Who's paying for this? Do they have the money to buy continually new seed every year and all the inputs and the activators? I'm sure they'll be able to get a loan about it, though. Let's talk about expansion of empire based on food production. Bringing it back to Rome here, top. When Rome was a tiny little microcosm just encompassing Italy and periphery areas, and as they learned the secrets of grain in different areas, i.e. North Africa, their empire expanded. And you could see at the end, as we came into, say, circa 200 AD or so, before the real debasement of the denarius and the different coinage of the day took place, maximum expansion across all of North Africa allowed grains to be grown in a single area, re-exported / imported back into the Roman strongholds, until it wasn't. So you have to wonder what happened around 400 AD. Climate dropout, the 535 AD, that was the multiple 3 VEI-8 eruptions occurring at the same time in the same years, knocked out food production for 10 years. And then we saw a significant and absolutely catastrophic decline. The Romans are in the debasement period, much like we are today. And that's what the similarities are. So something knocked the knees out of food production of Rome using North Africa, and subsequently the collapse came. They had to shrink their empire. And there are so many parallels to today. As we age, our body's natural collagen production declines, leading to visible signs like thinning hair, brittle nails, and joint discomfort. Most of all, wrinkles. That's right, collagen, or lack of it, is one of the leading causes of wrinkles and sagging skin. Unfortunately, most collagen, typically found on store shelves, doesn't provide the right type or amount of collagen necessary to combat wrinkles. This is why I use multi-collagen. It provides the 5 types of premium collagen that my skin needs to look more youthful and have fewer lines. Plus, it's easy to mix with morning coffee or tea, has no clumping and 0 flavor. Grab your bag now while it's 51% off at healthwithadapt2030.com. Plus, order today and get the 14 Foods for Amazing Skin free ebook and a 60-day satisfaction guarantee and free shipping on your order. Once again, this is a limited time offer and is available at healthwithadapt2030.com. Just click on that link in the description box below. What do you think? You think we could use robotics to bring the seeds up into the sands of North Africa to replant and bring a new grow zone on as above ground rainfall increases? I'm not sure. But the year to date weekly cattle down well below the 5-year average. And this chart is about a month or so out of date, but it continued downward. And you can see the declines anyway, where there's certain times of the year where more of these cattle are slaughtered and sent to market. And that's where those dips are. Because, if you're going to take out of the supply, you're going to see the significant, but it's a pattern significantly June, July, and also in September. You see that cattle are sold in the market routinely anyway, but we're going to dip below the dip, apparently. Lowest cattle herd in something like 70 years. So expect your barbecue prices up. And as I was saying, in Zimbabwe, if they can prove higher wheat reserves, they can ask for these NGOs and different organizations to come in and build them all types of grain silos. What about these storms slashing and smashing through North Dakota? Well, these have been damaged. Now, they were not full of grain, so we're not talking about losses here. But the damage by the wind has taken these in. They're inoperable at the moment. This is just one example, apparently, of dozens or more than dozens of these grain silos, anywhere from a small family farm like you're seeing here, all the way up to, a couple that are a few hundred feet tall on major silos and inbound destinations for those that grow in the periphery areas, completely damaged in the tornadoes. So it's about storage issues now as well for the grains, to put them somewhere, not about keeping them fresh in the silos. It's just like, where do you put all this extra grain now? It's going to come to market. The storage facility is not going to match the normal throughput. So where do we store all this grain? Because continuing in the world of what's happening, this is the Atacama Desert. I saw the video and I thought, is that the driest place in the world there that just got record snowfall? I think it is. Snow Blankets Atacama Desert, the world's driest and quote unquote rare weather event. So they're trying to show you that it hasn't snowed at all, not even a single flurry in over 10 years, or about 10 years or so, a decade, as they say. But the thing is, pounding, absolute record-shattering snow dropped on this place, which means that hydrological patterns are shifted. That Hungatonga eruption with all the moisture could be responsible for part of it. Let's take a look through the beautiful winter landscapes here. And you can see the varying snow depths. Now, some of that's drift snow with the wind blown. I thought, wow, these are really amazing photos, because normally they show you just the dry, sandy, beautiful desert the way it is. So there was a scientific observatory up there as well that got to get some of the best readings, and preceded by rare showers and then followed by snowfall. It's not about that it's at the elevation or it's cold. It's just there's very little moisture that ever makes it to this area. So something was forced out of its regular flow into this area. And that's something to think about. Like, why are the flows either north or south? How are they getting pushed down or pushed north or pushed south? And then suddenly we got rain. Unless we're talking about a multi-thousand-year cycle, that would make sense. And here's the snowfall totals for you. I was able to dig this out of a report. 38 centimeters is the highest totals there. What you see is that sort of purplish, getting into the brick color. So for those of you in the US that aren't on the metric system, 30 centimeters is a foot deep. That was over a foot in the driest place on the planet. Unheard of anyway. If they're getting like a quarter of an inch, that is like, wow. But to get over a foot is something that is just, it broke all the records that have ever existed there in terms of snowfall in a single event. So put that into perspective of all these water events that are happening across the planet, which brings me up to terrifying sights in Pakistan. Now, these flash floods rolled through many a village. Now, people were able to get out in their crushed homes and find refuge on, some solid ground. Now they're just waiting for the water to come down, very close for help. But families are stranded like this, not one, not two, but dozens or hundreds of people, not even family, just that survived the floodwaters are finding something to hold on to. Now the water's coming down. So at this point, they need to outweight the floods. The villages are gone. It just wiped out so many villages. And now this is the same thing. Now think about the Indus Valley. You're going back in time. Harappa and all these things that you heard about through history and the trading routes, the original Silk Road type thing. They were very abundant with vegetation at the time. There were oases and just these vast, they call it the land of milk and honey for a reason. These cradles of civilization. So the water would be coming back to this area as well. We're seeing it across the planet. Now jumping over to China. This is in Rongjiang County in Guizhou, Duliu River. And what do we see again? This is the highest all-time ever recorded water levels ever. Now there's a flood stage, and then you go over that, and then you measure how deep the flood waters are on that. This is 11 meters, which is 33 feet for those of you in the US, over the flood stage. So this is the deepest floods they've ever experienced. And they are going back more than 1,000 years in records here. The thing is, with the earthworks that we in China and their massive building project, got to give them credit. I mean, they have done the most massive city building and earthworks pretty much in human history. So the amount of diversion of waters and different flood control mechanisms, I mean, this is something so incredible that it overwhelmed our most modern defenses against floods. Now, I saw some pictures-ish in that same area, but this area, Rongjiang, was really remote back before they started to get it. So even to find photos in the 1950s, it's very difficult. But it was very rural at that time. They didn't have any, what we can see along these cities here, and the banks of the rivers with all this concrete. It just flooded naturally every year, resedimented the soil, and then it came back. But people knew where the top floods were, and they built outside that. The modern cities, they thought, hey, we can overcome nature, and I don't think they can. Again, everywhere we look, nature is just overwhelming everything we can do with our modern engineering. So multiple continents in the same week, maybe we're seeing an uptick. And your guide to stains, if you're going to be cleaning up mud and doing all these types of, disaster cleanups, your clothes are going to get dirty. So here's your guide to stains. Thought this would be something useful that we all could use. I mean, we're going out, it's holiday time. People are out in the summer. You get a lot more activity. You get a lot more stains on your clothes. Grass, use vinegar. Red wine, you use white wine or salt. Grease, you got to use soda. Lipstick, what's that say? Baby wipes. Okay. And then you can take a look at which one you want. From the oil, use white chalk. Never would have thought of that. Probably would have tried to use hot water. Coffee, you want to use baking soda. So you can stop this, screen grab it, and take it to your laundry list to use. It's kind of the state of our world. Things are, not as they seem. At least what we're being told. Everything's stable. Don't worry about it. It's all good for tomorrow. Go back to work, pay your taxes. All good. Everything under control. Give us more money. We'll stop everything. Don't worry about it for 100 years. And then this is kind of the message that we're getting. So I don't know if you agree with that, or you think they're just trying to obfuscate or kick the can down the road or keep people calm. Whatever's happening, don't believe the hype. And do believe the hype. Civilization Cycle podcast and live radio program Thursday nights. Please subscribe over on TikTok to our channel, Civilization Cycle, so we can go live right over there and bring you more information just like this, keep you informed of the newest things happening across the planet, causations, and things you might want to get ready for. So join us there. And please do me a favor if you can. TikTok, we need some more subscribers. We've got like 4,200-ish. We need to get to 5,000 so we can stream live. I do appreciate you watching. Hope you got something out of the video. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.